Yeah, where would we be without the never-ending carousel of madness at Old Trafford? Andy Mitten from United We Stand will discuss this. And chiefly Cristiano Ronaldo this morning. Just looking at Miguel Delaney's article this morning, Andy, starting off, which I'm just reading from the Independent website here. In Cristiano Ronaldo's talks with Mendes and the representatives' meetings with top clubs, a few points have been made abundantly clear. This is no game, nor is it an attempt to leverage Manchester United. Ronaldo just wants to have a chance of winning the Champions League again and is even willing to take a significant pay cut to make it happen. Bless him.
Bless him. I think Manchester United fans, the vast majority, I did a poll on Saturday saying, how would you feel if Cristiano Ronaldo left Manchester United? And results might surprise some people in so much as how many of them wouldn't be that concerned if he left Manchester United. 27,000 people voted. 12% said they'd be happy if he left. 57% said they wouldn't be that bothered. And 31% said they'd be gutted if he did go. So I think that's pretty much how a lot of Manchester United fans are feeling right now. He was a success last season, but issues came with him arriving. The coaching staff had no idea that he was coming. He was thrown upon them at the last minute and accepted. United had to rip up their plans of how they were playing, a style of football which had got United to second in the league, and incorporate Ronaldo. But he was a success. Without Ronaldo, United's season would likely have been even worse last year. In the few highlights that United had last season, Ronaldo was responsible for most of them. Definitely helped the team get out of the Champions League group stage. But I can argue strongly for and against keeping him. If he stays, he'll be cheered as he's always cheered. And if he goes, it will release a huge amount of money. And Manchester United would probably put some of that money into getting a new striker. There's not a lot of number 9s around at the moment. And this is down to Erik ten Hag. What does he want? It's all right, fans talking about what they would do. Fans aren't making the decisions between the player and the manager. And Erik ten Hag is now in charge, and what he wants to do is the most important thing for Manchester United.
Andy says Ronaldo was a success. He was a success in some metrics, but all the other offensive players did not improve. I've made this point before. Ronaldo may himself have done well, but Man United didn't become any better, in my view. So it's like you can see why that poll would be a little bit divisive on.
And Andy, I was kind of wondering, is there a danger to that poll actually is sort of the mood within Old Trafford as well as the mood outside of Old Trafford and in the fan groups, that there are people within Old Trafford who literally just don't know. Like the majority of people on that poll that you mentioned there aren't bothered one way or the other. That can't be the way the club progresses, even if it is a difficult conundrum at the moment. That can't be the way the club progresses if they are unbothered one way or the other, whether or not he stays or goes. You would like to think that Erik ten Hag and his coaching staff have a pretty strong opinion on this and are either planning for a Ronaldo-shaped team next season or are very much planning for one without him. They can't be stuck on the fence here.
You're right. United's view is that he's not for sale and he's got a year left of his contract. Then again, it's easy to say that. If footballers want to leave a club, then they tend to leave the club. 9 years ago, Wayne Rooney wanted to leave Manchester United, and the club did stand firm. Alex Ferguson had gone, and United said, no, you're not going. And he stayed. And he had a really good season that year. But Manchester United were champions when this had happened. United are so far away from that level at the moment. It would be all right if Erik ten Hag was decisive, but it's not just on him either. If he's got a player who's playing games with him, then that muddies the waters further. At the moment, Ronaldo has said that he's missing training this week for family reasons. United are due to fly to Bangkok on Friday for a long tour. I'm going to go on that on Saturday. Game in Liverpool in Bangkok Tuesday. Games in Australia, back to Europe, then to Norway, then to Old Trafford. Then the season starts, and there's a lot of games right at the start. Last year, he told Juventus that he was staying, and a week later, he left the club. Last April, I was in Milan with Manchester United, and a story came out that Ronaldo was going to join Manchester United. And I checked it out and was told there was no truth in it whatsoever, that the story was almost certainly coming from Ronaldo, because he realised that Juventus were willing to let him go. So it's not clear-cut, and nor is the number of people who could afford his wages. From a football perspective, would he improve any of the best teams? And I say teams because individually, as you say, he might still score some great goals. Commercially, he still has incredible value. And that is a factor. It was definitely a factor in Manchester United bringing him back. Commercial revenues, thanks to him, saw a big uptick. Shirts with his name on outsold, shirts of every other player combined. And just going to games last year, I remember walking to Atalanta against Manchester United in Bergamo and talking to two Italians. And I said, "Who are you, Atalanta fans?" So no, we're Cristiano Ronaldo fans. And he's massive. He's absolutely huge. My daughter's 8 years old and asks me more about Ronaldo than any football team. So he's still got huge commercial power. And as a player last year, he had a bit of a slump after Christmas. I think he got 1 goal and no assists in 12 matches. But Ralph Rangnick stuck with him partly because he had to, because he didn't want to be the person who signalled the final chapter in the career of one of the greatest players ever. Ronaldo will absolutely have his perspective. He spoke out last season when he wanted to. In some ways, he's bigger. He's the biggest personality at the club by a long, long way. And you can cash in on that from a commercial perspective, but he also brings problems because when he wants to speak, he speaks. He's a bigger name than the manager. His last 2 managers at Manchester United. If he's not happy, is it good to have someone like that in the dressing room? So I can hit you with 50 arguments for and against keeping Cristiano Ronaldo at Manchester United or letting him go. Well, I'm not the one making the decision.
Yeah.
It's on Eric Ten Hag and him.
If I were Ten Hag, I'd be getting rid of him. I wouldn't care who he joined, whether it was an English club or anyone else. But I suppose the question here is, and this has been alluded to in the press, what are the other players thinking? Because there's an implication that a lot of them actually want Ronaldo to go anyway.
Well, you're asking me to speak for 24 people there, and they all have very different opinions. Some of them think he's the greatest thing ever. They completely look up to him. He's their beacon in the dressing room, and others don't share that opinion. So you had a situation last year where you had cliques within the Manchester United dressing room, and Ronaldo was at the head of one group of players, and with some pretty powerful players around him, people like Bruno Fernandes, Diogo Dalot, some of the Spanish speakers. And it's all right having different groups of players in the dressing room because every dressing room has got little cliques and groups when you're winning. When you're losing, then they tend to rub up against each other. You tend to get leaks coming out. Well, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. And that's when it become really divisive, because I checked stories out last year and think, that's come from a player and that's aimed at going against another player. And that is not an indicator of a healthy dressing room.
Just the stats as well. 2021, 73 goals without Ronaldo. 2022, 57 goals with Ronaldo. And I do wonder, I mean, mortality and age catches up with us all, Andy. You'd imagine he's going to regress slightly into next season. Who would sign him? Like, who wants him? And, like, yeah, who would sign Ronaldo? Given what you're just saying here, you're signing a brand, but you're also signing difficulties.
You're also signing a very good footballer and one who may make you money. Ed Woodward thought he would make Manchester United money. He packaged up the deal and sold it to Joel Glazer as a commercially viable deal when Manchester United had basically spent all the money in the transfer window on Jadon Sancho and on Rafael Varane. I don't think the commercial side of it has been an issue for Manchester United. Indeed, they want to keep him. Did Juventus want to keep him? probably not. Who would buy him now? I still think he'd score a lot of goals in almost every team. But if you look at the teams who are in the last 8 of the Champions League, and he wants to win the Champions League, then they're very much about the collective. So you might get an emergency. If, for example, tomorrow, Karim Benzema got injured and couldn't play for Real Madrid for a year, there might be an example like that where they get Ronaldo because, he can come in and do a job and there's history there. But it's a hard question to answer. He earns that much money that it's a problem. So he would have to take a pay cut.
What's your sense on the likelihood of Chelsea wading into the Ronaldo conversation?
Good question, because they've got a new owner and he seems to be playing real life Football Manager. And maybe he thinks Ronaldo could do a great job and would be great for Chelsea commercially. I don't know what the thinking inside his head is, but my eyebrows have been raised a little bit by some of the goings on at Chelsea. I'd love to know what Thomas Tuchel thinks of his new owner. Maybe they'll walk away happily into the sunset and Chelsea will be fantastic. They're current world champions and things will carry on being great for them. But I don't know. I think Chelsea's losing some good people, but it depends which version of the truth you want to believe. London is attractive to footballers as a place to live. Chelsea have certainly got money. They pay absolute top wages. And they don't stagger those wages either, unlike a lot of top clubs. It's bang, you're getting this every week. A lot of clubs, including Manchester United, heavily incentivize their wages. So I think if Chelsea's new owner wants Ronaldo, then that's a probable. Chelsea wanted Wayne Rooney back in 2013, but Manchester United said, no, you're not going. I think it'd be much more difficult to keep Ronaldo now.
Live comments this morning. Any club that signs Ronaldo now is just a vanity project, and that's from Albie Littlewood, which of course Only Fools and Horses fans will get the reference. I tend to agree with that. And the cool people, Andy, the cool kids of tomorrow, they wear Ericsson on the back of their Man United shirts, not Ronaldo. This is a big story as well.
Well, he's a good player, and if the manager wants him, you've got to back the manager here. United have been too drawn by names and individuals in the last 9 years. And I said a few weeks ago, exaggerating, I said, if Erik ten Hag wants to bring in a player from the Dutch 8th division who nobody's ever heard of, then give him the power to do that. I'm not saying that Malathia, who signed from Feyenoord, is of that level because he had a very good season last year, but very few Manchester United fans have heard of the new left back even a week ago. And it's got to build a team. United have gone down this road of bringing in big name individuals, and everyone's been taken by them, including myself. When Bastian Schweinsteiger signed, I thought, great player, German World Cup winner, Bayern Munich, and he flopped, just as Alexis Sanchez flopped and Radamel Falcao flopped. There's a really strong miss rate for Manchester United's signings. So Ericsson, he'll be welcomed like all signings are. They all benefit from that flush of optimism. And if they're not performing, then pressure builds up very quickly on them individually. There's a lot of hate around from Manchester United fans towards Manchester United players.
Hate?
One who's almost certain to go is Andreas Pereira going to Fulham. United will probably make £10 million on him. He's not good enough to play for Manchester United every week, but he's a decent footballer and he's a decent lad and he's a hard-working pro. And Manchester United need to be smarter in the sales than they have been.
Just go back Pereira. There. You said the word hate. That just seems very, very strong, Andy. Like that's. And you were watching from afar. Is it that level of kind of festering resentment, hate? You'd even say.
I'd say online hate. Crucially, it's very, very different inside the stadium at matches. I think the players and the managers feel very supported in real life, but online, you've seen it. You've seen the news stories around it. It's awful, and it's not just Manchester United either. I saw Andre Gomez for Everton announcing that he was back in pre-season training yesterday and got a lot of abuse. And that's someone who's been very open about his mental well-being in the past. So we could talk for 2 hours about social media and the cesspit that a platform like Twitter can be. But when you're at Manchester United, it is so high profile that people are jumping on you and abusing you straight away. You know, one misplaced pass and you're getting abused. It's absolutely ridiculous. So when a team like United lose 6 consecutive away games, that abuse really boils. And yeah, I'd use the word hate, and I'd stand by that.
What about Frankie de Jong? This is fascinating as well. Is this going to happen?
United's understanding, and my understanding, is that Barcelona want to sell him. Erik ten Hag absolutely wants him. I think Frankie de Jong has been almost perfectly happy in Barcelona, living in a city where he wanted to live in for a long time with his partner. Been a good player for Barca. Not a great player. I probably watched him 20 times last year. His best game was against Real Madrid away in that 4-0 win. Xavi likes him. He earns too much money for Barca. He'd have to take a pay cut. So I'm presenting you with the facts there. If you're going to ask me yes or no, I think it's probable that he will leave Barca for Manchester United. I don't know of any other suitors. And I know Barcelona very well. I speak to a lot of people at Barcelona. And I don't know of any other suitors for him at the type of fee that United and Barca have been negotiating for. So there's a lot of brinkmanship around at the moment. Barca are saying, we don't need to sell him. The president, John Laporte, has been pretty strong with that in the last week. Those words could only drive the price of the player up rather than down. Imagine if he said the opposite. Yeah, we want to get rid of him as soon as possible. Then that plays absolutely into Manchester United's hand. But he's the number one target for Erik ten Hag and for Manchester United. I spoke to a lot of coaches in Spain a couple of weeks ago about him, people who view football at a professional level, and they were absolutely glowing about him. I was surprised because I watch him with my own eyes. I can see there's a good player there. And they were saying he can be so much better than he is because he's played in the wrong role at Barca. So if he signed for United, I and many other Manchester United fans would be excited by that.
Give us briefly your starting 11 at the moment for next season as we stand.
As we stand, De Gea, because Henderson's gone. Left back, Luke Shaw. But I'm going oof because there's now 3 left backs there. Yeah. Rafael Varane, Harry Maguire, a new highly motivated Harry Maguire because he had a poor season last year, which was highlighted along with a lot of other players. Right back, difficult one. Dalot, but I'm not watching him in training every day. Central midfield, De Jong, Eriksen, Jadon Sancho.
Everyone is just waiting for whether Ronaldo's in this team or not. Keep going, Andy.
I don't know the answer.
You've 3 more players. You only had 4-3 at the moment.
A man came up to me the other day. I was covering the Tour de France in Copenhagen, and I quite like getting off football for a little bit because otherwise it just fries your brain.
You need to get off the carousel every hour anyway.
Well, I couldn't because Sky rang me in the UK and said Ronaldo wants to leave. Can you come on TV in 1 hour? I was like, I'm just at the finish line at the Tour de France. And then a man put a camera in my face, a Manchester United fan, and started filming me and said, yes or no, is De Jong coming? Yes or no? Yes or no?
And
I learned a long time not to answer questions like that. When in 2003, a work colleague of my then partner said, David Beckham, yes or no, is he coming to Barcelona? And I said, yeah, he probably is. And then for 3 months later, he was giving me abuse because I was wrong. But was there any advantage to me giving him that answer when I didn't know the full answer to it? Ronaldo, I suspect he will go. And I might be wrong there. I think Marcus Rashford will feature strongly, but he's got to perform because he hasn't been doing. Anthony Martial's another interesting one. Not been performing either. Really poor loan spell at Seville. And then the old favourites, McTominay, Fred. Ten Hag has probably not decided. I'm almost certain he's not decided who his starting 11 is going to be against Brighton in a month's time. And he's got a month to work through that. What I am hearing is very good things from the training ground about him on the grass, about his directness, about the drive. And That's after a week or two from multiple sources. After a week or two of Ralph Rangnick, I was not hearing that. And when I communicated that, Manchester United fans just didn't want to hear that. No. Tell us the version of the truth we want to hear. But with Ten Hag, I'm hearing good stuff. I heard fantastic stuff about United's last Dutch manager, 2013. And Louis van Gaal had made a wonderful impression, and pre-season was fantastic, and Real Madrid were destroyed. And United staffers were going up to Van Gaal saying, thanks for bringing this club back. Thanks for bringing the spirit back. And then the team lost the opening day at home to Swansea City. So beware of the false pre-season prophets.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead on.
And I was just gonna sorry. What's the team here? We got to De Jong, we got to Eriksen, and we had Sancho. So your front three is Rashford. And who else?
A couple of notes here. This team is so bad, that defence. This is actually coming from upstairs in OTB. And apparently, Andy, you've picked more than 11 players, which might help for Man United next season.
Yeah. And I don't know the answer. I'm all over the shop with where the team's going to be because I don't know. And I don't think anybody knows. If you want to hone it down, then, yeah, okay, I'll say Eriksen, De Jong as two. It's really hard question. Ask me in a couple of weeks when I'm on the pre-season tour in wintry Melbourne or wintry Perth, and I'll give you a better answer when I've seen in my own eyes. But if you want to ask me about the Tour de France, I'm right up to date on that.
What when's that actually?
It was amazing. I'm not a cycle journalist, and I was interviewing people like Geraint Thomas. I had a rider driving the car I was in. I was in the Shimano neutral service car, which was in the middle of all the riders. And he was a Dutch rider who'd been in Stephen Roach's team in 1987. And I'm not a massive cycling fan. I've done a couple of long rides. But I remember Roach coming round the corner at La Plange as a teenager and seeing that on television. And I swear it's one of the greatest moments in sport that I've ever seen. I think he was catching Pedro Delgado. And I don't know what you had on Irish TV, but on British TV, it was something like, who's that coming around the corner? No, it can't be. It can't be. It's Roach. It's Stephen Roach. And I remember thinking, this is magnificent. At a time when no British riders came close to winning the Tour at all. So to have someone from pretty nearby, I took great pride in that. And on Saturday, to be with someone who was in his team, who won the first stage that year in 87 when Roach won it, was brilliant because I could just soak all this information in from him as he told me about the tactics of the Tour and what was going on, and sort of nod and pretend I knew what he was on about. And it was really nice. And I counted football shirts along the way. Liverpool won. Liverpool fans listening to this will be delighted about that. Manchester United came second. And, Denmark won, actually. So I'm going to take that trophy away from Liverpool, just like Real Madrid did with the European Cup.
Yes or no? Is he on the trip to Asia?
I'd be surprised if he was.
Andy, thanks as ever.
Take care.